And just because, our careers don't define us, all these other things, it's our authenticity. Like, I want to be able to go to my job and be who I am, just a happy, like, positive, funny guy that makes you think and makes you smile, but also I can get the job done.
Because you don't want to be seen as an outcast among like the majority of the population. And so you just kind of sit in that little safety bubble. And instead of going out past that to see who else has that, there might be a bigger, better bubble out there for you.
And whether this is the self-actualization part or the authenticity part, is understanding that to be your authentic self, you have to let everyone else be their authentic self too.
Totally, you do. There's no competition.
We always hear, be yourself. But what does that actually mean? Are you truly being yourself, or are you just playing a role that society expects you to fill? In today's episode of the Evolving Mindsets podcast, we're cracking the code on authenticity. What role does authenticity play in self-actualization? Can you ever truly know who you are? And what happens when your true self evolves over time? We're also joined by special guest Libby Baggett, who shares her insights on how embracing her true self led her to create a nonprofit dedicated to helping others find home within their self. If you've ever felt like you're wearing a mask, struggling with identity, or unsure of your next step, this episode is for you. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Crack the Code podcast. We've got a pretty exciting episode for you today. We're going to dive into authenticity, and we want to ask the question and crack the code to what role does authenticity play in self-actualization and personal development? And here with me today, I've got my co-host Shane Russell and Shannon Baggett, as well. Returning with us is Libby Baggett, and we're going to dive in. So we were having a conversation earlier, and this is what got the topic going about, what does it mean to be authentic? What does that mean? Like, people always say, like, show up as yourself or be yourself. What does it mean to be authentic? And my take on this, it was that I think we're always being authentic. We're, whatever is going on with us at that moment is authentic. And it is possible that inside of ourselves, there's what we really want to be doing, who we really believe we are, or how we really believe we should be living our life. But we're not living that way because of beliefs or conditions or circumstances that surround us. So to us, it feels as though we're being unauthentic. The authentic truth to me is that is where we are. We are a person potentially in that condition that could be repressed or feeling like we don't have the ability to release that authentic truth that's within us. So that's what we want to talk about. What is that like? How do we bring that out? What have we learned in our personal journeys from that? So Shane, you want to kick us off? Tell us, what do you think? What role does or let's just start with, what is authenticity?
I mean, there's a lot to unpack with authenticity. It touches on the very essence of who we are as individuals. And, it's beyond our education and our titles, our income and net worth. Each and every single one of us were chosen, to be created, was to have been chosen. And in that, we have gifts and we have superpowers, and we have a kind of a responsibility to develop them and to bring them, to give back. And for me, to be who I really am, there's a lot in there. There's self-awareness, understanding your strengths and weaknesses and passions and desires, knowing yourself, but then the integrity of who am I, and and what do I really want, and aligning with that knowledge, and making the choices that reflect our true self rather than conforming to, external expectations. And but to be our best version and who we really are, and to be able to be honest with ourselves and the creator and with everyone around us, and to be loved for that, and to be able to bring our gifts and powers and bear our fruits for the world and life around us. To me, that is what authenticity is. Uh, you know,
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you is what you're saying is you see that kind of inner light inside you, that inner you, the you that maybe you don't always want people to see, or that you don't always feel like you can show, but empowering that and supporting and developing that version of you until that is the way you live and you're showing up as that person uh, all the time. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
yeah, but I mean, even being able to just to show up as that person all the time, to do that, to it's not a passive. It's not a passive thing. It's something that we have to work at and you know to take action on. But to show up every day with the alignment within ourselves to be our best selves and take the actions required to do so, it benefits the world around us when you know we show up ready with something to give and we're giving the things that we are authentic to us that nobody else can offer and or provide. Each of us can give something to this creation that others specifically need.
Yeah, your unique gifts.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So your unique gifts, your unique, contribution to the world, that would also be directly related to authenticity, right? So if you have those unique gifts and you're bringing them out in the world, then you're bringing out something, I guess, authentic, something that can't be replicated by anyone else. And that's your authentic gift to the world. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, totally. And Libby, you have some unique perspectives. I love it on self-actualization and how you helped us kind of figure out how to approach this. But I'd love to hear more about your thoughts.
Yeah, going back to kind of what Clint was saying in regards to we mask a lot. We have to go into a professional environment and be professional, and we can't be our authentic selves because we have to conform to a certain set structure. And while we are authentically reforming in that dynamic, that's not real. That's a mask. That's not who you really are. That's putting on a performance to conform to wherever or whatever it is you're doing or whatever it is that you're trying to conform to. And I truly believe in in that empowerment of authenticity when you do allow yourself, because this is a journey I've been on, and I'm just coming to a point of really being able to value my authenticity rather than being insecure of it. This is me, and maybe the things I do have to say do make a difference, and I should be speaking up more. And realizing that the more you allow yourself to not feel shame about who you are, empowers other people to do the same thing.
It totally does.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, shame definitely, I think, plays a huge role for a lot of people in not allowing their true selves to be seen, for sure.
Totally. And if you think about it, in our DNA, like we were predestined to be who we are. And granted, there's those parts of our DNA that, the propensity to do certain things that we have to overcome. But when we focus our energy and our efforts on our gifts and our powers, I mean, there's really something there, and there's really something that we can contribute to the fabric of creation. We were. It's almost like we were designed with specific intent to
But
do that thing.
yeah, the further along my own conscious expansion in regards to time moving perpetually in my human experience is gosh, it's so much to process. Sometimes I can't get the words, I can't articulate the words the way I need to, but
And that's being authentic too, right there. I mean, just that transparency. I'll tell you, I think authentically is just a difficult thing to say. Like, though I have a hard time, I have to really slow down and pronounce the word. But we were talking about this a little bit earlier too. Is and I think Shannon, you just kind of touched on it with the shame thing. Is it's okay to not be okay, right?
Mhm.
How do we, you know, how can we even show up authentically like that in our weakness and in our development, you know, and the struggles that we're facing day to day and the challenges that we're having, you know, to show up in a way that allows us to be human, right? So authentically, like, we do have unique gifts and we do have unique powers, and you know there is self-actualization to occur. But along that journey, you're going to stub your toe, you might break a finger, you might make several mistakes, like, you know,
You
all of
can
that.
be you can become clouded because, like, if you don't have that confidence or security in yourself, you're going to let other people mold who you are. And you're going to constantly question, am I doing the right thing? You know, you don't trust yourself and you're relying on others' perspectives to tell you who you need to be. In actuality, in self-actualization is realizing I can trust myself. I am going to take me where I need to go. And I need to rely on me more than I rely on others. But being able
Totally.
to rely on yourselves allows you to find the people that align with you that you can truly rely on and who are going to have your back, not people that are
Mhm.
trying to control your narrative or trying to shape you or, you know, put you in this box of, oh, that's who you are, that's who you'll always be. But people who are actually like see you for who you are and who you can become.
Yeah,
No, I
Yes.
love that. That's powerful because just because we may not be CEOs or millionaires or pro athletes or rock stars or whatever, we still have our gifts and powers that the others need. And in this world that's, it's been the norm has become kind of competition and
Mhm.
and outperforming each other or all these different things that we measure each other by these days. Our authenticity has kind of been left behind, but really our ultimate value and the greatest boon that we can bring for the world that we live in is, like Pokemon cards. They all have their special gifts and powers or whatever. We all have that. And just because, our careers don't define us, all these other things, it's our authenticity. Like, I want to be able to go to my job and be who I am, just a happy, like, positive, funny guy that makes you think and makes you smile, but also I can get the job done. And to be able to be who I am and not have to lie about it on any front to anybody ever, um, and to put my focus there and develop that, it does take, in a world of doubt and doubters and haters, it does take a lot of, you have to be assertive and you have to stay focused and, you have to have faith. And
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because as I'm hearing this feedback and you know these thoughts and kind of perspectives on this, I'm almost starting to wonder, does authenticity play a role in self-actualization, or does self-actualization play a role in authenticity? Like, if you're really going to show up as your authentic self, as the best version of you, self-actualization is the process you need to go through. And this is kind of, I'm picking this up just from, you know, Shane, what you're saying about, you know, delivering your unique talents and gifts, and, you know, Libby and Shannon, your comments, you know, that to do that, like, you've got to have the courage, the confidence, and the faith, and you've got to overcome shame and other people's ideas. And that's part of the self actualization process, right? Is finding that power within you so that you can go out there and be that, you know, be that best version of yourself.
yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think for some people, maybe where we tend to get stuck is that that process should be a never-ending process for
totally.
everybody through their whole life. Like, as a parent, um, I really try to help the kids figure out who they want to be, how do they want to dress, what kind of, you try to give them the space and you allow them to put on all the different costumes and the different hats and try all the different things till they find something that makes them happy and comfortable, right? And they will continue to do that through, junior high with like the different types of clothes they do and the different types of hobbies and the people they hang out with will help like evolve them. And then at some point in high school, I think most people kind of you get like to a good comfortable spot. You have a good group of friends. You kind of have your set stuff. You feel pretty good. Then you move away from high school and maybe in college in your 20s, you kind of get back into the trying on different hats thing. Like, who do I want to be? Like, do I want to be this type of person? Do I want to have this type of job? You know,
And
whatever. And
that's
then
the
again, yeah, it gets
yeah.
stale again. And I think it's just like you have to just keep doing that. In order to be the best version of yourself, you constantly have to be
You won't ever
like,
be the same version of yourself.
yeah, you have to like be super
Powerful.
aware. Like, is this really the best version of me today? Is this who I want to be tomorrow?
Mhm.
You know, you're never too old to try on the different costumes and the different hats.
Mhm.
And
That's like
like, yeah,
James or Carrey, Jim Carrey. He says something like that is like that depression is it's you saying, I'm tired of playing this role. It's your body that it's tired of playing this role. It wants to be doing or be someone different, be someone new. Just
That's
kind of
powerful. That's so
interesting.
I
powerful.
mean,
Like, I love that. And, I hear another theme kind of evolving out of this conversation that's really getting me lit up inside is that there's a certain amount of, to be truly authentic, you need to accept the fact that you're evolving, right? And
yeah,
that your authentic state isn't one state. So you don't, grow up until you're authentically, an engineer, and then, that's it for the rest of your life. Your authenticity continues to develop as you become more conscious and aware of who you are, of what you like, and even as your body shifts, because, the things you want in your 20s are not always the things you want in your 30s. And the things you want in your 20s are definitely most likely not the things you want in your 40s and 50s. So, there is just that natural progression through life. So there's, part of that authenticity, is just accepting that you're an evolving being going through life. And, you're going to be something in your 20s, and you're going to be something in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And those things may be different along the way.
no,
yeah.
I
I
And
no, go
go ahead,
ahead,
Sam.
Shane.
Well, so I mean, with what you're saying, Clint, and it's interesting the word evolving, or there's an evolution here. Becoming our optimal self is definitely not a fixed state. Every experience, relationship, and challenge, it helps refine and shape us. And embracing that growth and development through difficulties is definitely a challenge. But it's not about changing who we are, but about discovering, refining, and expressing the highest form of what's already inside of us. It's about uncovering and fully living out the potential that is our birthright. You know?
Shannon told me this quote that it's not about learning who you are, it's about unlearning everything you are not.
Ah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's even another beautiful way because we've been socialized to forget our value, the value of our authenticity for sure.
Yeah. And that socialization, I think it doesn't, I feel like sometimes people want to put a really ominous spin on that there's a collective group of evil people who are trying to make you exactly what you should be. But the socialization, in my experience and what I've witnessed through years of interacting with thousands of people, is it's very benign. Right? It comes with really good intentions, like, look, this is who I am, this is who I expect you to be. And so, in developing it, as we're even figuring out who our authentic self is, at some point we start really trying to pass on. And I think maybe this even starts in that parent child relationship of, this is who I think you should grow up to be. I want you to grow up and be a doctor. I want you to grow up and be successful. I want you to grow up, we ask children this, what are you going to be when you grow up? Well, they're 5 and they're like, fireman. Like, do you really have the life experience to know if what you want to do is walk into burning buildings and save people? That requires a whole lot of skill to develop. So there's this there is this just common socialization of us projecting onto each other what we think each other needs to be, or what we wish each other would be, or
Or
wish
see that
each
we could
or
be,
see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
or
so it may not be ill intended.
Well, there's a safety in conformity, right? There's a
mm,
safety in being around people who are like you. And I think for a lot of people, if you have like unique interests that maybe a lot of people don't have, you're gonna kind of set those aside, or not maybe share them with a lot of people. You might be a little embarrassed, and you just kind of keep it to yourself because you don't want to be seen as an outcast among like the majority of the population. And so you just kind of sit in that little safety bubble, and instead of going out past that to see who else has that, there might be a bigger, better bubble out there for you of people who are just like you with your interests and your thoughts and your beliefs.
You would never
You
know
just,
if you keep it to yourself.
yeah. And if you stay within that safety of the little bubble that like you're currently in, just because maybe where you grow up, that's like the societal norm, and
Well,
you got to move past that.
that's a really powerful perspective. I'd like to
It
share
is.
something that I experienced growing up. So for me, I my pathway, I always say, is like was non-traditional. The majority of people my age, I don't think were doing the exact same thing that I was doing. I didn't go through public school after the third grade. And I was raised in, a religious community. A lot of people are raised in religious communities. These were very tight. But for me, that experience before we had the internet and everything is that as I moved to, go explore and meet new people, and I traveled to new locations, and I would join, whether it was religious communities or church communities, youth camps, or even beyond that, work communities, and, moving from location to location in the military. Every group or community that I would be introduced to had its societal norms, right? It had its behaviors. And what I had to learn how to do was really quickly become aware of what those societal norms were, what those behaviors were, and then respect that community while I was there in that community. Make sure that, I wasn't being rude or doing something inappropriate. And I feel like in my 20s, I got lost in that. I had worked so hard to be accepted into that safety of communal norms that I didn't really know who I was, right? I hadn't took that time to just go, wait a second, am I doing this so that I can have friendship and so that I can have support and potentially love and all of these good things that happen within a community, but who am I really? Is it something different?
That's a super powerful point, Clint, because I feel like there's a lot of people right now, that have had crazy success and achieved all this stuff that are kind of feel like they've reached a dead end street in their lives. And, before the socialization, back when we came down from the Universal College and we knew everything, we loved each other and we just, like it didn't matter the socioeconomics or where we came from or whatever. We just wanted to get along. We can identify the bully, you know, those things that make us beautiful and the value add that we begin to doubt, uh, you know, it's the difference between following your dreams and not, I think. And, different from like when you're 5 years old, I dream of being a fireman, but like there are certain things that we have always felt every, waking moment of our life when we wake up in the middle of the night or whatever. We always feel this thing like that who am I question. And really there's a lot of choice there and actions to be taken and to explore who we really are and who we really want to become. But regardless of the outcome of that, that we can offer by being able to stay focused on that and asking the right questions and aligning within ourselves, I think is part of the mastery of bearing our fruits for the world around us. Leaving our legacy.
Yeah.
There's no difference between all the greatest that did all the things that they left us or have given us and us. We all have it within us, but so many of us have abandoned our authenticity and have let our gifts and powers go to the wayside for these other roles that we've put ourselves in or
You know,
accepted.
I feel like that's kind of where when people have like they're like psychiatric, like mental breaks, it's because they are so out of alignment with their
Totally.
actualization of who they are and
Yep.
disconnected from like a reality in which they can actually navigate. that they just, they lose touch, and they have to realign. And don't get me started on the mental health systems. That can be for another podcast. But um, but like it brings me to think about, like, the people who are homeless, or the people who are having a hard time navigating the social norms, the people that can't be chameleons, that are outcasts, and they are having to be their authentic selves, but they're not being their authentic selves, is just getting them shut out,
You know, I,
and it's like, why is that?
Yeah.
Libby, you just brought up Jim Carrey, and I'm going to take your point right now to another step. Uh, what was that movie, Bruce Almighty or whatever, where God was what's his face, and he kept showing up on the side of the street like a homeless guy or whatever? Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
Was that?
Morgan Freeman.
Yes, Morgan
Yeah,
Freeman.
Morgan Freeman. I love
Yeah.
Morgan
Yeah,
Freeman.
yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know who that person is. That person could be, you know what I'm saying? And that's just it. Like, we don't have these titles. We don't have this like uh the success that we're all measured by in current society, whether it be money or whatever. That doesn't mean that we don't have something so like epic to give back and to leave.
There's actually this person out there, and I'll keep all like identification, unidentifiable, but I was working in a inpatient field, and there was this person that had the a list of homeless communities' rights written out on, like, literally it was from like wall to wall. And because they were a homeless person who had been, documenting all these different rights, and that person is out there with that paperwork somewhere. And guess what? No one's listening to them. No one's valuing what they have to say, because they put this person in a box rather than seeing
They're
them
a homeless
as this
person.
unique individual. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Clint.
They're
Clint,
left
Yeah.
here.
you told me an awesome story a while back about some guy that you would see every day going into work, and standing on the side of the road, and you stopped and talked to him one day, and you're like, why are you doing this, man, or something? You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
So definitely, yeah. And I'll share with that. And I also want to add something in just to kind of twist the thought on this, and bring another perspective in too. But to your point, yeah, I was, a few years ago, I seen this gentleman, and he was homeless, sitting on the corner, asking for money, and so I felt this pull in my heart, like I really want to do something. Like, I felt compassion, right? And so I went and I offered him some money, and I gave him as much money as I could. I wanted to give him enough money to make a difference, right? And so, a couple weeks later, I seen him and he was still there. And I realized, I was surprised that I seen him there. And what I didn't fully understand about it is that subconsciously, when I thought I was helping him, I had this kind of illusion that, I was saving his life. I was going to be the one person who came by, and helped him out financially. And, and that was, and that would cure him from this homelessness, right? I didn't realize, I didn't consciously think those, but I think that subconsciously, at some level, I did hope that I was helping that way. And I seen him still sitting out there, and I was like, I'd love to just take a chance and go meet this person, right? And just, I want to hear his side of the story. What help does he really want? What is he looking for? What is the state of mind? And so I parked. I went and bought some food and took it to him and sat down and said, do you mind if I sit and eat with you? And so we sat there and we on the street corner as people are going by, and I ate and talked with him. And it was very interesting to me, his perspectives on life. He was doing that because he chose to do that. And he admitted, he remembered me and told me thank you. He said he actually did go open a savings account or a checking account or something with the money that I gave him. So, I did have a positive impact, right? I did help him to, accomplish something he wanted to accomplish. But it was still his life to live, and he chose to be there. He was telling me about how he had traveled across the country and was living his best life, and he had a message. And from those street corners where he was asking for money, he was also interacting with people and sharing his message and belief about life, and that all this kind of stuff. And so it was really eye-opening to me, and I was thankful for the experience, because I feel like it pe peeled back a layer of, like, subconscious judgment I didn't even realize I had. And I think that, that kind of goes back into that whole projecting thing, which is, what I wanted to talk to you about was what I've noticed in the younger generation coming up. I know whether they call it Gen Z or Gen Alpha, is there's a lot more openness about people being authentic. There's a lot more acceptance, and the socialization doesn't seem as heavy as it felt when I was young. And I didn't, it was so heavy when I was young. I didn't even realize this. It was just the norm, be this, do that. You should act like this. You are a number three human. You should do what number three humans do.
It's
Like that.
that cultural conditioning.
Yeah. And I feel like that's dissipating. I want to believe it is. I feel like, I see more openness toward, accepting that, look, we all share similarities. We all do jobs. We all provide service. There are natural things. I mean, we're all humans. So it's natural that there are going to be similarities and natural roles and natural tendencies. Like all of these things exist. But when it comes down to the character of who you are and how you want to express yourself and how you want to contribute to society or to the world or whatever you want to do with your life, there's more openness toward allowing you to be you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. I think you can see that with the kids and definitely with the younger generation. They're definitely, it's like embedded in them, almost like we're all human. Like we say that as adults, and in the grand scheme of things, like we know that, but we're still pretty judgmental whether we try to be or not.
Yeah.
We have our preconceived notions about people and how things should work and what people should do. But I think definitely, like with these generations coming up, they're so much more open to people just be who you are, because
Well,
they so bad just want to be who they are. So
yeah.
it's like they're just like, screw it,
It's
like just do what makes you happy.
is
Oh,
a
that's
beautiful thing, because when you allow that, it just freaking blooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. And to your point, like when I realized that, when that preconceived notion that I had was exposed in me, I was not even fully aware that that was there. And I really had to ask myself, where did that come from? Like, it's not, that notion doesn't align with my, we'll call it authentic core beliefs, and, you know, it's interesting how you through socialization or whatever it is, these ideas can be implanted in there, and so we have to kind of tease those out. And it almost makes me wonder, it's like, is I had that thought just now, is self-actualization really just overcoming socialization?
I mean, I really definitely think to a degree it is. But we talked about this earlier, like having faith. Like, I mean, I just really believe. If you really believe, then you really believe. And if you really believe, I mean, I just believe in intelligent design and that each person has unique gifts and a specific purpose. And the journey of authenticity it's a spiritual journey of living out that divine design. Our highest calling is to be fully ourselves, and it's not an act of selfishness, but it's an act of service to the world. Like when we contribute our best to the world, we're using our unique talents and perspectives and their gifts to the collective. And it doesn't matter if it's through creativity or leadership or compassion or innovation. When we operate from our authentic self, we contribute something that no one else can.
You know what's kind of interesting about that is you can be fully authentic in who you are, and there is going to be a person out there whose their authenticity opposes yours, and there will be a
Totally.
clash. And it will only and are you going to give in and conform to their views, or is it going to instill in you more of who you are?
But there's also opportunity there to celebrate each other's authenticity. And
Right.
I really,
Yeah.
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 That's a great point in perspective. I mean, let's flip and look at the other side of that, right? So, okay, reach inside your heart, be your authentic self. This, seems to have a real deep connection to self-actualization. But there are some people on this planet, I feel like we're authentically evil, right?
Totally.
Can I judge them for being their authentic self if what I think is that they were evil, or do I have to recognize that we all have free will? You know, what do you when your authentic self opposes the authentic self of someone else, isn't there going to be tension to try to want to normalize or socialize that other person, or you be socialized by that other person? You know, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, guy?
I mean, it's behind everything that we talk about and everything in life. There's always kind of the same, I think, underlying theme, and it's the intention behind the authenticity, right? Like Hitler was definitely authentic in a lot of ways, but that didn't work out well for anyone. You know what I'm saying? But the intention behind it, I really think is something that is, and especially with if it's intention based on faith, based on a higher, the greater good, living authentically, not just for personal fulfillment or control of others or to exploit anything or get rich, but really for the greater good. I mean, that's where I think the power of authenticity really is most important and has the
Yeah.
greatest power. Yeah.
Well, I agree and I disagree a little bit. I'm not so sure. I mean, maybe Hitler was his authentic self, but I believe a lot of his followers were probably not. They
Correct.
were, brainwashed to
Totally.
think that he was right or put, either you come fight for me or you die.
Oh yeah,
Right.
there was
Well, that
How he
definitely
did it,
some
he was
brain.
authentic.
that
But
that
he was
that
authentic.
that herd
He,
mentality.
he was authentic in how he did it, though. You know what I'm saying? And the
Yeah.
other weird thing about it is just like the rest of us, he was pre-genetically dispositioned to be this way or that way or that way or this way, which goes back to we have a choice in these matters. What we want to focus on and what we want to become.
Oh man,
Um,
that just leads to a whole nature versus nurture conversation, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, would he have turned out the way he did had he been born to other parents? Like, I I don't know. I don't.
but it's natural. It was still natural.
Well, regardless, his authenticity in regards to who he was and what he became in history, that was his power. And he had such an authentic power and belief system and structure based mind to, you know, do mass genocide. That's not necessarily what we're, that's not what we should be
That's the
heading
downside
towards. But,
of it.
huh?
It's a downside of authenticity for sure.
Right,
Well,
right, yeah.
let's pull
It's the
this in
intention.
a couple layers a little closer, because that's big, and we're not trying to, well, we are trying to solve world peace, but we're doing it in little pieces. You can authentically be an asshole, though, right? Like,
Totally.
I've met people who seem to be authentically their self, rooted in who they are, completely know what they want, and there are no qualms about it, and are just uncomfortable to be around. Just, like,
Yeah.
like,
You're
so,
not
and I
aligned with
think,
them.
yeah, and that goes back to your point, right? Is so that, this idea, if you just told everybody in the world, just be your authentic self, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be peace or, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
Yeah.
I think we have to recognize that,
There's intent.
yeah, I feel like part of it, maybe, and whether this is the self-actualization part or the authenticity part, is understanding that to be your authentic self, you have to let everyone else be their authentic self too.
Totally. You do. There's no competition, and everybody bring, like, what you bring, some of them are going to need, and what they bring, some of us are going to need. It just is how
There's
it
a,
is.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much freedom in that too, when it's like, I don't like assholes, but if you want to be an asshole, be an asshole. It's fine. You go be an asshole over there, or I'll be like, hey, I learned how to be an asshole and now I'm gonna be a sarcastic asshole today because I think it's funny, but it's also being sensitive and emotionally intelligent to a point that it's like, or at least for me, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Like I don't. Some people don't care if they hurt people's feelings. Some people do. And then, that's how we all navigate this world and who we are and who we align with and the people and the teams and the community in which we build, that's going to kind of, that's
Okay.
going to be the structure,
Well, just like
right?
maybe from like a devil's advocate question, maybe the people who are assholes or the people who are like Hitler are that way because they don't know who they truly
I
are,
love that. That is a great
you
question.
know? And
That
from a
is a really
psychological standpoint, if they don't feel like they have any control over who they are, so they're going to try and take control over other people, and then they
Yeah.
go, oh, I feel like I have control, but really, like, maybe, you know,
It's not who they
that's
want to
not real.
be.
It's not really. Yeah, they're only doing that because they don't know
Yeah.
who they
yeah,
Well, let
are.
that's a
me.
good point.
I think that's. I love that point, and but I want to throw a kink. I want to throw a wrench in those gears, right? I don't think I'm an asshole. I don't think you guys would think that I'm an asshole. And I think when I show up as my authentic self, I'm not being an asshole. But I believe there are definitely people on this planet who think I'm an asshole or who have thought I have been an asshole, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So just because we think someone's being an asshole doesn't mean they actually are.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
man.
perception.
Yeah, they could be having a bad day, going through a divorce, just lost somebody. So we definitely have to. But I mean, in actions, our actions speak, and time tells, both of which define who we are in time. You know what I'm saying? And again, we have a choice here, but the mindset that we're approaching these things in is really important. And if you go back to, like, DNA and God created me specifically for this purpose, and do it from that way, like, uh the best version of ourselves, that it's written in our DNA, and it's a unique combination of our talents and strengths and potentials that are encoded in each of us, and
Hmm.
when we are bringing those things, our best, um, and our best in a way that we can clearly see that it's helping other people up, and which is how I feel like we help each other up, ourselves up, by helping other people. That's the things that I think that are, being unique, and our authenticity, is most powerful. It's kind of, it was written on our DNA by its divine, it's creative intelligence. It's just clearly
Yeah.
bigger than us. Yeah.
Well, I think at
So
the core of like being your true self, you have to just you have to know who you are. Because
yeah,
if you're constantly relying on other people um to tell you like, "Oh, you're so authentic," or like, "I love this version of you," or whatever, like you're not getting a true reflection. You know, you have to just look inside yourself. Like I can't think of where I saw it the other day, but there was a whole thing on you exist like a different you exists in the mind of everybody around you. To
totally.
some people, you're the super funny extrovert, and to some people, like you're the really quiet book nerd, and some of the people, you're really shy, and somebody out there had a weird run in with you and thinks you're just like the biggest dick ever. And
Wow.
you can't look at how they see you. You have to look
No,
inside yourself and just go, okay, like what they saw of me that day maybe wasn't my best, but I know I'm a good person and I'm gonna work on that. Or, you just have to keep moving yourself forward and not let other people move you one direction or another based on what they think of you.
Yeah, I feel like
yeah,
there's a really good clue there that you just provided to the whole question, right? What role does authenticity play in self-actualization? What you said, I 100% agree with in every way through everything that I've studied is that every person knows you has their own unique version of you in their mind. Like I heard the saying once that when you think someone is saying something about you, like if you think that someone is thinking something bad about you, or they're mad at you, whatever you think they're thinking about you is not them thinking, it is you thinking about you.
yeah,
And so we do, when we're present with someone and we're hearing them, we're receiving a clear signal from that person, but then we're interpreting that information into what does it mean to us. And when we're not with that person and we think about that person, the person we're thinking about isn't actually the person. It's our mental version of it. So
totally.
Shannon, I totally agree that there's all of these versions of us out there in the minds of everybody who has known us. So the clue there, I think, when it comes to, discovering more about what does this role that authenticity play, is, are you being authentic for those roles, or are you being authentic for the role that you think you're playing?
No, I think that's awesome. I mean, there's definitely been moments in my life that I've been just not the best version of who I am, and justifiably, other people might have agreed or whatever. But there goes the point of like integrity and asking the questions, like you said earlier, like who am I? I love Clint. You always are asking yourself questions, and then you're telling us about the questions you ask. And um, but who am I? That's a question that we should all be asking ourselves always. And what am I doing to be that person and to keep that alignment? It takes courage to defy the expectations of others. It means going against the grain and sometimes making unpopular decisions or disappointing others. Who
That's
expect
a
us
that's a
to
I
conform.
think that's a big thing in regards to the role authenticity plays in that personal growth is actually being able to see beyond the versions other people have of you in your head, holding who you are in your authentic self, knowing who you are and knowing that people are going to come up with their own thoughts and versions, and actually being able to just be yourself beyond that and not allow the versions people have created of you to keep you confined in that. Don't let the
Even
other people have that power over you.
Yeah, even when
But
we make mistakes, what I'm saying? We all make
Right.
mistakes, and sometimes, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Oh my God.
but I
Yeah.
think, true actualization though is hearing what people are saying to you, or taking what they reflect back upon you and going like, oh man, is that really how I put myself out there? And
Yeah,
really looking and going,
Mm,
okay, no, I don't, that's just how they took it. Or you go, oh, maybe I am a little too soft
totally.
spoken, and you can work with that and try and tweak yourself to be better. Or you can just go, well, I'm okay with that, that's how they see me.
No, you're right, Shannon. There's a commitment to growth. There's a mindfulness of the situation, asking the questions, and then there's a commitment to growth. It's not about staying the same. It's about continual evolution.
Yeah.
Evolving the mindset, and it requires us to confront parts of ourselves that need healing or development, and to keep striving. Sometimes, I mean, there's always things we can learn and improve upon until the last beat of our heart. And but I think that's our mission. Keeping going and keeping actualizing. It's a never ending process,
It
to
should be
yeah.
a never ending process. Yeah.
Well, just to hearing that, and what a powerful thing to share as I'm reflecting back just on that feedback, right? Thank you, Shane, too. I do ask that question, who am I, and who am I showing up to be? Um, you know, when for me, the role that authenticity has played in my own personal growth was when I started to realize that I was doing a lot of things, like a lot of things, because it's what I thought I should be doing and it's what I thought I needed to be doing. But was it really what I wanted to be doing? And so I had to go through that, and I still go through that, a lot, digging in and finding that out. And Shannon, I think you brought in a really significant part of the self actualization process, because once I started getting honest with myself and I started going, okay, who is it that I want to be? How do I really want to show up in this? And then taking action and doing that, right? Like following through on my own internal desires. That was a big part of authenticity to me, was just going, okay, this is what I want. This is who I am. I'm going to show up this way. I think a massive part of the self actualization was after I did that, the feedback that I got. When I started to get the feedback, the reflection from other people that they were seeing me how I intended to show up, that was really powerful, really reaffirming, and felt like what I would think self actualization feels like.
feedback is an
Yeah.
important part of figuring it out. There's your own internal, like, observation and, analysis, but then, from your inner circle to just people you work with and people in the world, like, it's there's a lot of affirmation and questions that can be brought to our mind's eye just through living our experience of who we are and who we're trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And that feedback it's important too, right? Because you want to not just show up authentically to the whole world, but showing up authentically to, people that you trust and people that because you want good feedback, right? If someone has an agenda or intention and you show up authentically and they don't like your authenticity, they're going to tell you that it's wrong, and explain to you why you are authentically not correct because they authentically don't agree with you. And that could hinder that self-actualization process. I don't want to be what this person thinks I am. So now I have to kind of learn how to
You
build
know,
the strength and overcome that feedback, right?
yes, yeah. And here's like gonna not an opposing view, but just another take on it, right? Is like if you are going to someone you trust and they're saying, "Hey, you're not your authentic self right now," you know, because you could be dysregulated because we all self-deprecate sometimes, and almost having that person you trust be able to be like an anchor or an outstretched hand to help you climb back to who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah.
Or
Uh,
you could take it the other way, is like, no, I actually really resonate with who I am right now, and the fact that you don't see that just means like maybe we shouldn't be involved
Well,
at how that
I
person.
don't think,
I don't
um,
know.
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that, maybe everybody is, if they're calling you out on like, oh, you're being a little bit different lately. I think that's just love and a true friendship,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and those people who will stick by you during that time, love you and accept that you're evolving and they're going to roll with that. You know what I mean? They're going to give you the space to adjust accordingly. But if somebody asks you, like, you're not really being yourself lately, it might not always come from a place of like, I don't like who you are right now. It could just come from a
Concern.
place of love. Like,
Yeah.
do you
Or
need
concern.
additional
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
support?
Yeah.
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 It it,
Definitely.
it could, but I think too, and I've seen this when a person wants to make a change of direction in their life, or they were because maybe they weren't really familiar with their self and they had one path and one target, they're going to go, you know what, that's not who I authentically am. I now understand I'm authentically this way over here, and I'm going to change and go that direction. And they start to live in alignment with that new direction, their new, more authentic direction. There is a period of time where those closest to them will go, "Hey, what happened? Why are you different?" And they get concerned, and that can come across, I think, even sometimes as judgmental. But there's a mixture of that. Some people who liked you the way you were and think that it's you need to stay who you are, who you were, so that they can be happy. That's not the person you want to take advice from, right? You want to
Oh,
look toward the people who, I think, as we're talking about here, right, is the people who are like, look, I want to love you for you and whatever you
yes.
want to do and whatever you want to be. Like, I'm going to love you. I want to see you become the best version of yourself because I know there's goodness in you. And I know there's greatness. And the more good and great and people become authentic and step into their power, I think the better the planet becomes, right? Those are the
No,
people you want supporting you.
Clint,
Yeah.
Clint, you were my boss, and at a time of when we worked together, you just stepped in, and I had like caused havoc, but I had good intentions. I just wasn't trained, and and you got to know me, and in the time that you got to know me, your feedback of my authenticity, you were like, dude, you're one of the best problem solvers I've ever met in my life, and you gave me some feedback that reminded me of some things that I was like, hey, actually, I am pretty good at that, and you helped me had a you changed my trajectory forever. And so I really think that our authenticity is it's kind of it's something that's has something to do with our like the divinity of our creation. And to be able to be open-minded and love each other enough to bring out our best, our gifts and our powers, so that our gifts and powers can be utilize for the most and or the many, the most win-win kind of scenarios. But I mean, like, Clint, I mean, you wanted everybody that worked for you to be authentic. You identified their strengths. You developed their weaknesses without pointing them out. I mean, tell me about how, getting in a corporate scenario, individuals' authenticity to work out in a way that it did for all of us, where everybody involved won. How did you do that in leadership?
To a point
Yeah.
where
Okay.
they want to wake. So I'm just adding to what Shane's saying, but like, because if you could get like in a corporate sense, a team that wants, when they wake up, they want to go into work.
No, he did
They
that. That's
want to
why
be there.
this is what he did. Like,
Yeah.
Clint, how did you do that as a
Well,
leader?
so, for me, there's one thing coming in here. Like, it's real. I recognize this in the corporate environment, that there's a big element of socialization that happens just around the idea of a job title. There's a whole lot of preconceived notions right now that exist in kind of the hierarchical business setting, that first thing I know is you have to remove those. You have to break through those barriers. You can't look as, one, I'm not a manager, and these other humans are employees, and they are different things, right? First thing is just to let down those ideas. I think about how I draw out the authentic nature of my team, and I hope to and endeavor to, is one is I just see that we're authentically all humans. We just have different jobs. We're at different points in our life, and we're different periods, but we're all on this planet. We're all growing together. We're all building together. We're all evolving together. And we each have a whole unique story and series of circumstances. I'll be honest, I have yet to meet a person, if that when I sit down with them and I ask them about their life and they tell me their life story, that the story isn't like document worthy, like documentary worthy. Like, people have amazingly interesting lives, each unique one of them. So for me, that was my great pleasure and privilege as being a leader or being a manager, was the opportunity to find out what makes you awesome, right?
But
And that's
leverage.
always what I looked for, is what made you awesome. Sure. And to your point, just to finish, but like, I there was stories. Like, when I got there, there was definitely preconceived notions that were handed to me day one. Walking in as a manager into that team, I was given a list of what I should think about every employee. Like, no joke. And this happens, right? And I looked at this and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to, you know, I respect the information there. And sometimes there are maybe key tidbits or things that are factual, like that sometimes is relevant. There is information that one leader should be passed on to another. That's good stuff. But like opinions, like, I'll make my own opinions. And so I just took it upon myself to get to know everybody specifically within the team without any judgment or preconceived notion. Like, who are you? How do you show up? And, one big thing is, when you tell me something, is that what you do? Do you live authentically? Is what you're saying line up with what you're doing? That's how I see kind of the where I look for authenticity in a person. If a person's saying something and they're doing all the things that support them, saying that that's who they want to be and that's who they show up as, then I see someone who I think is living very authentically.
Well,
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, but you also have an innate ability to take it a step further and and leverage people's practical strengths and or like to break it all down. Like, this is what this person is really most inclined to or good at and loves, and doing, when you have a team, leveraging everyone like that and getting the ultimate outcome as a result. And really, I believe that's a lot of what we're doing with evolving mindsets. We're bringing all of our gifts and powers together to get the best result for everybody involved.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? And it, it makes me reflect back to things that I do to really understand who I am and determine if I'm really being authentic. I I just watch my behavior. I track my behavior, and to me, it's easy. It feels easier to do this with someone else than it is with yourself. To just watch my own behavior and separate myself from my thinking and be objective, I usually have to use a calendar or a notepad or a tracker or something where I can record what's going on and then go back and look at that. But when you have the vantage point of being on the outside and you only see a person during certain times doing certain things, watching behavioral trends it's a little bit easier to do. And I feel like if you built a relationship with a person and you know what they want to do in their life, you know where they're trying to get. I've talked to many people where they're like, yeah, I'm in an engineering position, but I'd like to become a project manager. And we talk about that. Why do you want to be a project manager? And having been a project manager, I share with them like, well, look, this is what the job was like for me, and this was an experience. Does that still sound exciting to you? And if a person authentically seems really interested in that, then what I start looking for is where in their life do they have the skills and behaviors, or they're demonstrating those even in the smallest form, that's already like a seed of the skill that they're going to need. And then I would just highlight that and say, look, this is one of the things definitely that you're doing that will help you on the pathway to what it is that you're wanting to do long term. Don't ignore that. Make sure that you develop that thing, grow it, appreciate it, and understand that that is a skill set. And if I'm in a leadership position or a management position and I can give an opportunity for someone to exercise that skill more, that's a big win.
I think that's what makes a good manager. It makes a good manager. It makes a good teacher. It makes a good friend.
Absolutely.
Somebody who makes you feel seen in whatever that looks
Totally.
like, seen just as who you truly are. Like, I see you and I'm going to nurture that. I'm going to nurture you and whatever that looks like.
Like that Einstein quote, don't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah. But yeah, Shaman, totally. Like, it is, right. And, this is just me. I don't like bragging on myself or in any way, but I do. And I can say it is part of my authentic nature. I want to see people. Like, I would love to see people just get into the richness and the fullness of their life and what they want to become. It's really powerful. I think that's why topics like authenticity are so important to me. Is I find, and this has just been in my experience, that if you can help a person recognize their own authenticity, what is it that they want? Who are they trying to become? And you can help them move in the direction of that. From a leadership perspective, it's really powerful because the people who recognize that and see it and move in that way, and not in the way I want them to move, not in the way I think they should move, but move in the way they want to move. The ones that really do that, I've seen it time and time again. They start making more money. They start being healthier. They call in sick less. They show up on time more. Their
because they
work
feel
gets done
valued.
faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, and I'm
They're
not doing
contributing.
it to get those things out of them. I
But
just
it
want them to
works.
move in the direction they want to go. But then it's like all the management problems go away. That's why I felt like I was cheating all the time as a manager, because I'm like, it's easy. Like, I just really love my team and I don't have problems.
I mean, like, really, authenticity is an opportunity to contribute to existence. It's beyond our own personal self fulfillment. Just for the greater good. Whether it's from corporate leadership positions, us as friends that love each other, or just But it has a ripple effect. I mean, when we're when we courageously live our truth, it, it helps other people be able to do the same. It gives them some permission. And
Yeah.
it's a model for others to find themselves and express their own truth. And I mean, and also in our relationships, like when you really are who you are, like it fosters genuine connection. I mean, when we show up who we really are, like, I mean, I'm as broken as they come, like Humpty Dumpty. Like it deepens our relationships because others can see all of us, like our flaws and all. And
Oh, go ahead. Keep
no,
going.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that's like why corporate jobs are just like employment in general. Like, we are working to make ends meet. We're not working to fulfill a purpose. We're working to pay for the house we sleep in and the car we drive to work. And it's like, so to be able to give people their power back, it's going, that's the whole thing, is like, I want to help people want to wake up and be
Yeah.
included in life and be excited to be alive. Because I know
Inspired.
myself, I want to feel that in myself too. And evolving mindsets has given that back to me a little bit. And, you know, and that's where I kind of find that the value that this that what you are doing is valuable. Is you are giving people their power back in a way.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? And you know, and it's just been a couple weeks in that we're doing this, but I realize, look, not everybody's going to have a great manager out there. You know, I wish it would be that way, and I strive to work with managers and leaders and companies to help their leadership team understand these values, because it's not about instilling these values within a population. If you're the person who wants to instill it, you got to instill it in you first, right? You have to make sure that it's really there,
Totally.
because what's going to happen is the senior most leader, the top person I talk to, everybody underneath them is going to benefit,
Yeah.
unless they just think that they like, if they want me to just go out and do it for other people, like, it doesn't work. You have to
You
really show up. You have to be this
lead by
authentically.
example. You have to lead
100%.
by example.
Yeah, but
But to your point, and real quick, Shane, I'll hand over to you. But like, that's the goal of evolving mindsets. Is look, that doesn't happen everywhere. It is happening out there. There are leaders, there are managers, there are CEOs who are making great strides toward these things, and they do have these values. But for everyone that doesn't, what do? Right? They can't all change. You can't go change your manager. You know, if you're going to go attack and fight, you can file complaints all day. They'll get rid of that manager and put someone else, because the problem is higher in the leadership chain. But we do need to make ends meet. We do need to make money. We do need to earn a living. And so what I wanted to create was a space that, outside of that environment, if you're not getting that support at work, come to this community and you can get that support at the community. You can be with people who want to grow and develop into the best version of their self, and want you to grow and develop into the best version of yourself. And we're not judging who that is. We just want you to be able to find what is authentically you.
Yeah, it's kind of like show and tell at the end of the day in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's, like in show and tell, like we would all like bring our coolest things or whatever, and everybody'd be so excited, and we'd all be excited. Like that's like the best kind of intent in this whole thing. And I really believe from your leadership to where we are and evolving mindsets, like really, what we're trying to do here is kind of let's take off the lid and let's like climb the walls that are keeping us out or holding us in, and like let's walk around the miracle of creation together and see every single thing from as many possible perspectives as possible, and then apply the advantages of our authenticity or our ability to contribute as divinely intended, to create a contribution that makes a positive impact for everybody involved, or the end users, or for those to come, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's one thing I remember going to a Dr. Joe Dispenza conference, right? And being at this table with like a cancer doctor, a cancer survivor, and just various different people in different careers and from all over the world. And it's like, at this table of 8 people, there were so many different things represented, so many different countries, so many different cultures, so many different specialities, so many different skill sets, and I was like, and it made for this really beautiful conversation as we all talked from all these different perspectives on similar topics. I was like, wow, this is really a beautiful thing. And it is, to me, the beauty that it's why I enjoy and love evolving mindsets. It's why I want to see it grow, is when we come together and we're all showing up to bring our best self, we get to witness that. We get to see the singer become the musician, and we get to hear the songs and grow with them as they're learning how to, use their voice and get their tune. And we get to see the artist in the trial positions, and we get to see the leader who just started their job as a supervisor that goes on to be a great manager. We get to see, the entrepreneur who becomes a successful CEO. We get to be a part of that growth and experience, and we're not limited to just one thing. And like, it's only CEOs or
You're
it's only
you're the
artists, but
soil. You're
yeah.
the soil that, or like it's the soil in which you're planted in to grow.
And we
Yeah,
feed,
and
we got to feed, but we got to feed that soil too. You got to water
Yeah.
it. You got to give it love. You know what I'm saying? And but when we do, like beautiful things can happen, and everybody, you know, I always say this, but when we shine on each other, we all grow. Nobody can stop the shine. Nobody can steal the shine. We can't. It can't be taken from us. It can't be stolen. You know what I'm saying? Like we all possess the shine. It was given to us miraculously, and that is our authenticity. That is the thing that we should do no matter what, and believe in ourselves regardless of the doubt and the haters and everything else
Well,
and the
because
reality.
when and that doubt and that those haters or whoever it is, that's I feel like they're in their darkness. They're not in their light because somewhere culturally they have developed this certain mindset in regards to like everything has to be done behind the scenes. I can't everything is a need to know basis. There's no transparency, and then that just creates this like culture of uncertainty. When does that kind of make sense?
No, it totally does. Like it totally does, and it's really the norm and the reality. But I think about it sometimes like this, like metaphorically speaking, if we're all kind of like candles, and our wick is the life force, and some of us have had the great fortune of being lit up, and once that happens, it's kind of like our obligation and responsibility to creation to help light as many other candles that exist, because we don't want all these candles like being in a warehouse in Phoenix just melting away with their wick never being lit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We all have, and if we're all lit, we it just magnifies the light. We can see in the darkness. We can navigate. We can find the best way.
so would it be fair to say then that authenticity is about being true to yourself, and self-actualization is about knowing who you are?
But I think there's a becoming, a focus to become that in there too. But yes, I agree.
I
Yeah.
think it's that self-actualization and the authenticity. It's actually feeling that esteem, that self-esteem, that you like who you are, and it's okay
Value.
if other people don't.
Yeah, and some aren't, dude. And some, they're probably not going to show up at the funeral. So our funeral. So we, no matter what, have to be just stand up for who we are and who we were created to be, and be it. But in that, I do think there is a responsibility to focus on being the best of who we can be, and presenting and bringing that to the group for the benefit
So
of everyone.
so
Well,
to twist. Oh, go ahead, Shannon. I want to hear your
oh,
thoughts.
I was just gonna say, yeah, for me, kind of at the end of all of this, I think for me, self-actualization is knowing who you want to be. And then
Hmm.
the authentic part is like actually being that.
Oh, that's
Like to
beautiful. Say that one more time.
self-actualization is knowing who you want to be. And then the authenticity comes in when you are actually that.
Is that
I
being true to
I
yourself?
think it
Wow,
Yeah,
might be.
it's being
I
beautiful.
think
that
it might
best
be.
version
I
of
think it might be flipped, but I don't disagree. But I do agree. But it's just kind of because when we self-actualize, we become who we were meant to be, like best version, right? When we,
Yeah.
when we finally reach it. But it's our authenticity. I think those are the means to get us there.
They
So
sort of coincide with each other.
They do. They go hand in hand for sure.
yeah, so that's kind of the point I was coming to. I think to answer the original question, what role does authenticity play in self-actualization? A big role, right? Because you need to be true to yourself. You need to understand yourself. You know, I can't say one and the same because they do feel like they have their own unique attributes, but it seems like one will lead to the other in some kind of synergistic way if you're
Well,
going
It's
to.
critical,
I think you just
Yeah.
said it. You just said it. In order to be your truest self, you have to know yourself.
and you
Yeah.
have to
Mhm.
be authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I really appreciate the conversation, and but before we head out, uh, to anyone who may be listening, watching on YouTube, wherever you're at, give us a like if you like the content, subscribe if you want to hear more. Please leave comments. I love the comments. Finding out from you, what your thoughts are. What do you want to hear? If there's any topics you want to hear us talk about. If maybe you disagree totally. Please add that perspective. It all helps. We're trying to understand, what it means to be human and what it means to be in this existence and how do we live our best life. But before we go, definitely we have a few things we want to do. One, Shane, if you have a poem ready, and Shannon, if you got some quotes for us, I'd love to hear what you guys got.
I might have something. All right. Give life a salute. We will never be free without self-sufficiency, benevolence, and loving the best in everybody. So let's be reciprocating positivity, as belief, like a coral reef, perpetuates so auspiciously. So trust in what's inevitably bigger than humanity. The only way to be truly happy is by having faith in the great majesty for manifesting everything and everybody so miraculously. We must live righteously together in harmonizing transcendental synergy as we're in the womb and live anew beyond the tragedy and tomb. So no more gloom nor feeling doomed. In this manure, take root, branch out, bloom, and give life a salute by growing the fruit of your greatest value. It's up to me and you to create the best view, wide angle and zoom. Giving back is how we do it.
Beautiful,
Just
man.
applause.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
fantastic.
love that. So wonderful, man. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, Shannon, what do you have for us?
I have a few quotes that I found I think are kind of great. I do want to include something that before I get into the quotes, just for anybody listening who feels, connection to what we're saying, or you feel like, you get behind what we're talking about, or it sounds like a community you want to belong to, you can find us at evolving-mindsets.com. So please come join. We welcome you. All right.
You could link that in the video post too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll include that, but it's just putting it out there just in case. All right. So I've got a few quotes and I kind of thought they were all great, so I'll just read them all to you. The first one is by Oscar Wilde. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.
I like that.
Yeah. Carl Jung
great.
said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are.
Oh, beautiful.
Brene Brown said, authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. John Mason said, you were born an original, don't die a copy. I liked that one.
Mic drop.
Yeah, you.
I just full body goosebumps. Yeah, good job.
And then the last one is by Etta Turner. In a world where you can be anything, be yourself.
Wow. How beautiful. Thank you so much. I feel like I want the studio applause button. I got to figure out how to add the clapping, because there should be clapping after that poem and after that. So if anybody's listening to this and you hear clapping, that means I figured it out. So. Anyways, thank you all for listening and joining in with us. And we hope to see you again next time. Again, much love to all of you out there. We hope this is helpful, and we want to be here on this journey with you. So come hang out with us, and let's figure this life out. We'll crack the code together. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.
Gonna find your path, gonna lead the way, stride through the storm, never go astray. Always whisper truth and let your spirit roar. You're a force of nature, crash upon the shore.